Okay, hopefully you can hear me much better today. I've got a different camera on, which has a specialised microphone, and it's a chest camera, so I don't know how it's going to turn out. Hopefully I've got it straightish. So here we are, Port Soif. Another lovely day. So I'm going to go for a walk and ramble away as usual. And hopefully you won't hear too much wind noise, and my lovely rambling voice, which is a real chore to listen to, will be in wonderful high fidelity. How about that? Now I'm going to try and just leave the motor running, so to speak, because I hate joining video together, because in my video editing tools it takes forever to transcode the video after I've done that. I mean, all it has to do is stitch the clips together. It's not difficult. I've got other software that can do that, but without any finesse, without any other sort of transitionary effects. And it does it in seconds, but as soon as I stick it into an editing studio, it takes about 30 minutes. It's a pain in the arse. Anyway, enough complaining. So here we are on the beach. There's a lot of limpet shells out and about, and they sound lovely when the tide is, when the waves are washing over them. They make a wind chime sound, and when the waves aren't too strong and it's just lapping at the shore, it tumbles them over. So you get this gorgeous sound of the water cascading over the shoreline, and accompanied by the chimes of tiny little cone-shaped limpet shells. Absolutely magic. Right, let's try and angle this, because it's currently angled for my bike. So let's try and straighten it up a bit. That's probably straighter. You're probably wondering why at the beginning I was looking up at the sky. So once again, as well, hardly a soul in sight, which for a very reclusive person like myself is wonderful. I can tolerate the crowds, but I just prefer peacefulness. And I'm not really antisocial, because I do enjoy small groups of people that I know. But I find groups of people very noisy. I can't really focus on what anybody's saying, because it just sounds like a rainstorm of voices. And almost like each one is a hailstone tumbling down from the sky, and I can't really listen to anybody in particular. There's just too much noise, too much information. I find it very difficult. So I'm forever asking people to repeat things, finding it hard to get engaged, and when I do get engaged, I really don't find what they talk about that interesting. I sound so arrogant. I'm not arrogant. I have an imagination. Let's just leave it there. And it is incredibly cavernous. I am very, very good at art, and lots of people have in the past said, well, why don't you use your artistic skills? I have occasionally, but this is going to sound really bizarre, but I really don't see the point of transcribing what's in my imagination onto paper or some other form. I just don't see the point. I've already got it in my head. And it's lovely. I can see every intricate detail of it. I can rotate it, scale it, shape it, recolorize it, change the lighting on it. I can do whatever I like with it and imagine it in a multitude of different scenarios. I don't need to write it down. And if I did, nobody's going to thank me for it. I might get one or two people saying, oh, that's nice. But so what is the point, right? I don't need to make a statement or anything. It's I understand the way things are. And the way things are is that the world's a mess. It always has been. The human race, it's a struggle. It's always been that way. But we have more recently had a very large population explosion. I think the population has more than doubled since I was born in 1971, and the world's changing rapidly now. And when I say the world, I do mean nature to some extent, but let's be realistic. It doesn't really matter what we do to the planet. We can completely nuke the planet until there was nothing left. And in a million years' time, it would be a paradise again easily, maybe even shorter than that. So I'm not worried about Mother Nature. She'll take care of herself. But and I'm not even really worried about what we do now. I suppose I'm being a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to protect my own sanity. Yeah, that's probably what I'm doing mostly. If I get too wrapped up in, I don't know, trying to make a difference, trying to change things, trying to make a statement, trying to stand out and all that other nonsense, it's just pointless. I can just enjoy my thoughts. And that's already me being at my best. I hope that makes sense to some people, because my thoughts are very, very intricate. And I've tried explaining them to people in the past, and they just go cross-eyed, and they lose track of me, or they think I'm mad, or they just simply don't follow what I'm trying to say. And I'm just bored and fed up and tired of trying to explain myself or improve things or make a difference or anything like that. I've got nothing to prove. I want to enjoy what I have left of my life, which is hopefully a good solid 30 years or more of doing all sorts of lovely things. I'm not rich, so I'm not going to be going to every single corner of the planet and things like that, but I will get away now and again when I can do some decent consultancy work and save up a bit. But even that's really not that important. It is my imagination which I enjoy the most, and I'm quite happy with that, to be honest. It's great having a wonderful imagination. It's like a secret. I know quite a few people have great imaginations, and some people do put them into great effect. Like J.K. Rowling, she decided to get her imagination out on paper, and good for her. She got very successful at doing that, and I hope that it wasn't too painful getting there. I hope it didn't change it too much. Doesn't look like it, which I think is marvellous. I don't know whether I could do that though, and I don't know. I would worry about what sort of person would I be if I did make a success. And I don't mean like J.K. Rowling, I just mean a success where I don't actually have to work. I sort of feel like maybe in a way I need adversity. I need adversity as a motivator, as a driver. Having things to overcome is like a lure for a fish, and I'm the fish. It attracts me, it propels me forward to do things. I would really seriously worry if I was minted completely. Would I would I stop doing things like this? Would I get so infatuated and obsessed with material things? I mean, the computers I would build if I had plenty of money would be out of this world. Would I just get obsessed with doing that? And would it become such an obsession that it would be at the detriment of my physical or mental health? I don't know. So is it all really worth it? I think for some people it has been. For a lot of us, it's a battle that we fight all our lives till we die, and we probably never really get anywhere. And for a few of us, like me, we decide to kind of almost semi-check out of the system and just do things like this, where we're enjoying the outdoors and getting around, having liberty and freedom on a shoestring budget. And I kind of like that. I'm not going to climb all the way up that thing over there, which I used to do. I can still climb it, of course, but not with all my lovely expensive camera gear on. But what a lovely place, eh? I won't linger too long, because we've got places to go and things to do. And I do hope, as usual, that my rabbiting on about things isn't too annoying. It's, what's the purpose? Okay, so I quite enjoy sharing things with people, because it's often in the hope that by spilling out my thoughts, others will identify with some of those thoughts and feel a bit of comfort that they're not the only ones, because sometimes people, I think, become quite isolated in their own worlds, and it can lead to mental health problems. I've certainly witnessed those. You kind of retreat from the world because you think things are wrong, but actually it isn't that things are wrong, it's that the way you're expecting life to be needs correction. And really what it all boils down to every time with any problem in your mind, I think, is it's all about habit. What do you constantly say to your mind to take seriously? And the more you think something, the more it tends to be the case. It's actually lovely here when it's calm, of course, for a bit of snorkeling. Just over there is the crab wells, a very deep hole in the ground where you can find spiders at the top and at the bottom sometimes. Yeah, so how do you fix mental health? Well, I think, and of course it depends, right? Some things must be clinical. There must be some clinical problems as well, which are sort of a matter of physiology. But I think mostly it's mental. So how do you mentally correct poor mental health? Well, I think you focus on habits. You think about the things that you really truly want to be doing, which used to give you fun, or you want to give you fun, or you think you should be doing, and they should include healthy things, and they should include things which increase your security. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, things that put you in a comfortable state where you've got enough coming in to cover things, you haven't got too many big problems looming over your head, things like that. So I'm just saying, oh, it's easy, it's a new habit. So how do you build a new habit? It is easy, actually. It's just it's difficult to pull off. And the easy part is knowing that it's just repetition. You just keep repeating the thing that you really desire or believe you should be doing. Eventually, your bad habits will be replaced by the new ones. And you'll start doing that thing more. And then you'll find, after a bit of time and a bit of discomfort, because you may not want to do them, they might even make you feel a bit sick about doing them, but eventually you will want to do them. And you'll start to notice the benefits. And it's like a new pathway opens up with lots of tributary routes fanning out from that new pathway. Lots and lots of things start to happen which connect with this new habit. So it might be acquiring new walking clothing, or getting a new bicycle, or getting a new camera, or fixing something in the house, whatever. But then you start pulling yourself along a new path which is healthier, and your mind stops fixating so much over negatives, stops ruminating so much, stops telling you that you're in the wrong place, and instead is more mindful of where you are and what you're doing and how much you're enjoying it. And that's what I always tend to do when I sense that I've lost my way a bit, is I focus on discovering which habits am I doing the most, how many of them are negative, or they're not producing the results that I want, and then alter them into different habits. That's my top advice. If ever you've got problems, that really is genuine, good, solid advice, and you could pay a fortune going to a renowned psychologist and discovering that over a course of months and months and months. Or you could take my word for it for free. It's up to you. But I think it's good advice. It's a lot warmer than it was the other day when I had my 360 camera. It's nice. I didn't think it would be this good. And it's nice not having a stick to wander around with. Hands free. You'll get better video off this camera, but you're rather kind of fixed. And if I go silent at any time, it's because I'm approaching people, and I just don't like being stared at when I'm talking to a camera. I know there's nothing wrong with that, it's just why people have to stare at you so with such a weird look every time I'm doing that. So I try not to do it now, because it makes me feel far too self-conscious. Maybe I should read a bit more about Stoicism, and then I really wouldn't give a shit. Right, what's this telling me? Right, I've got something in my shoe. I'm just going to have a quick check. Something rolled down. Oh, there's an insect. Not sure. Keep going. Yeah, definitely feeling summery. Nice little flint nodule. Probably too small to chisel into something. Excuse me. Lovely spot for shells around here. I think somebody did pick up the giant claw that I left here, which is cool. So shall we go over here to my right? A bit of a scallop shell. I know where to find loads of those. Here's another crab's leg and claw. Looks like a spider crab. Really, really lovely food, spider crabs. That might be a keeper, why not? Might break that bit off. I love things like this. This one's a little bit warped. I have quite a collection of fairly eclectic things that I've picked up from the beach at home on one of my shelves, which really I should have DVDs stacked up on, because I've got piles of DVDs now with nowhere to put them. But any case, whenever I find something unusual, I add it to the collection. It's just like a big pile of natural treasures. But they are treasures, because each item has its memories attached to it and serves as a reminder of what's out there to go and explore and enjoy. And even if you've done a walk 1,000 times, it's still not enough. Go and do it again, because when you can't do it anymore, you will wish that you had done it more often than less often. Let's just put it that way. That's your baseline to worry about. The next thing is, you never know how you're going to feel or what you're going to bump into, whether you may see something new. And you're also moving, which is good. Getting your heart pumping. Now, this isn't particularly strenuous exercise by any stretch of the imagination, but it does improve mobility, which is the reason why I do it. I don't really do it for cardio. That's what the cycling is for, really. But walking can get my heart going quite a bit, because I don't do enough of it. So with my body being tuned for cycling mostly, I can do that fairly easily. But the walking's a bit harder. So I'm fixing that by doing more walking. I wouldn't say I'm unfit there, far from it. But with the problems I had recently with my right side, gluteus minus and gluteus maximus, and also potentially a slight problem where it may be a hernia, or the beginnings of, on the inner right groin area. They're all sort of signs that maybe my scoliotic spine is contributing towards posture problems and lack of stretching and use of those muscles through persistent seating or seated posture are making those things hurt a bit. So walking engages the glutes a lot and you get to balance a lot, especially over rocks like this with your feet. So you're involving all sorts of muscle groups and balancing and things like that as well. And you're doing all of that without thinking about it, which is great. It's a very pleasant way to get healthy benefits and get views like this. I really do feel like stacking up a pile of stones and knocking them down again with another stone. That's one of my favourite beach pastimes. Let's have a look at this pool there. We can chuck stones another time. I'm sure that's not going to be too interesting on video. Lovely big pool. Some shrimp in there and fish. Just angle it down a bit. I can remember a time when that was, well, it is deep actually. It looks shallow, but it's actually still quite deep. But that was very deep when I was a kiddie. No sea glass around here. Sometimes there is. Right. Let's head up. I really enjoyed walking around Switzerland a couple of years ago. That was great. I'd like to do that again, but you need to save up. Well, if you're taking your stepchildren with you or a stepchild with you, it's a lot. I think you need easily a good, if you really want to do lots of stuff, maybe a good £5,000 per person for a 9-day trip, and that's really stretching it. Probably more. But so you need a lot. Another bee. You need a lot in the bank. But it's a fantastic place. I would live and work there if I had sufficient capital. I probably have all the skills they're looking for. I do have a first-class degree in artificial intelligence. I suppose that's worth something. The trouble is, I haven't operated in that field for a long time because, when I was an expert in it, you couldn't get hired. Nobody was interested. But I am a good, or used to be, I don't code much now, but I was a very good programmer, so I don't think it would take me long to jump back into it. So I suppose I could do that. But that would get me in the door, but then there's the problem of, well, how do I afford a home? And they'd have to pay me phenomenal wages over there to get me over there. I could probably only pull together, well, I'm not even going to say what I could pull together, but it's not enough to comfortably get a nice home in Switzerland and have money left over sort of for retirement. It's just not going to happen. So to be honest, a lot of countries are missing out on knowledgeable old dudes like me because they're so expensive. Stop being so expensive. you'd have creatives like me and many others flocking to your countries, if only it wasn't so expensive. But we're just withering away in countries where A, I won't get hired, and B, the only way that I can prosper really is to be a consultant. I mean, I make far more money, vastly more money, being a sort of semi-freelance business analyst than I ever could being a programmer. And that's bonkers. Because the amount I need to know, the skills I need to keep sharp, and the capabilities to be a great programmer, I think greatly outstretch what you require to be a BA. But that's just the way things are. So I am a BA. So instead of building Britain's future in artificial intelligence, solving companies' problems and helping them go through difficult periods of change. But I couldn't even make probably 90k working in AI in Guernsey. There's just no way. They just wouldn't pay it. But you can almost double that if you work seriously hard for a year working as a consultant business analyst. So there you go, there's your answer. You don't always get to do the things you are equipped to do. I wouldn't go as far as to say that I've enjoyed it that much, because the pay in software engineering was always so pitiful. I really enjoyed it. I was nuts about it. I think I had a library of over 150 books once on software engineering. I was nuts about it, but I never got paid well for it. There was a time once when I was working for a top international private bank, and I worked out that because I was doing so much overtime, which was unpaid, I was doing approximately 8 hours a week, that it worked out that I was getting paid less per hour than the cleaners. And this is not to say that cleaners shouldn't be paid well. I'm just saying there's a big difference here between how much training I've gone through and how much skill I've had to build up in order to single-handedly build very sophisticated banking systems compared to wiping off dirt with a cloth. And I just thought that was unfair, so I was glad when that bank finally laid me off because they no longer required my services. Apparently, I was too expensive, even though my pay was pitiful, and they wanted to outsource. So, like so many other people, I was a victim of that mentality that everything can be outsourced to a foreign country where hardly anybody in that country understands the culture. And really, I'm going to say it, many of them don't have the skills. It's not their fault. They just haven't been trained properly. But they're sold as having the skills. So you can pay, for instance, somebody an absolute pittance in a poorer country to do the same job. You won't get the same quality. You're very unlikely to. It's not. I won't say you would never get the same quality, because there are some amazing Indian technicians. I mean, some of them are absolutely incredible. I've worked with a lot of them, but generally speaking, you're not going to get the same result. I definitely think it's going to be sunbathing time, probably next week. I mean, you could sunbathe now, you could, but yeah, so I was glad to sort of put all of that behind me, and the disappointments in my software engineering career contributed very heavily towards my ill mental health at times as well. And it wasn't the only factor. I won't talk about the others. Some of them are too personal. You don't need to know those. But relationships can be good and bad. They can break down. And when you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, sometimes you have to change the environment you're in, right? Because you notice you're being attacked from a myriad of different directions, which are all heaping problems on top of you, making your life unpleasant, because your job is to make other people's lives more pleasant than your own. And when that imbalance is too extreme, that can be problematic and can lead to a lot of ill health, mentally and physically. So after that, I lost a lot of interest. I have done occasional coding now and again. I love correcting other people's work occasionally, not to be a complete bastard, but because it's just nice to solve those puzzles. I'm very good at solving software puzzles. Software that I wrote back in 1996 for Windows, which is a multi-agent simulation system, still works perfectly today in 2025, flawlessly. And that's a testament to good engineering. Let's go to the front bit first. So we've covered mental health. Not quite sure why that's popping into my head. I suppose it's because I'm noticing that I've overcome a lot of problems lately. And I think sometimes also the mistake, I hope you can still hear me in this wind, the mistake that we make sometimes is that when things are going fine, we question whether they should be finer. Oh, look at all of this sea pink. That's beautiful. Yeah, including my shadow. A lovely hefty dose of sea pink. Yes, we sort of wonder, well, everything feels fine at the moment, but is it not fine? And I think that's where we risk making too many. Oh, you can't really see where your feet are going. Could be a hole. We risk making comparisons with people, which I think is a really seriously bad area to step into. You can't compare yourself to other people. You are you. You're unique. Your situation is very unique. And often the successes that people exhibit have often not been acquired through the means stated. Not all of them, but often not. They're only being shown to you to sell you something. And then they're not really telling you the whole story. And there's a lot of ands. This is a conjunctive. The luck factor. Few people ever talk about luck, right? And luck is a huge factor. Oh my goodness. All through my life, I've watched really incapable people elevated in their chosen ambitions through luck. Now, part of that luck could be nepotism, of course. That's quite rife. That's a human condition. Can't really fight that. But luck is huge, and there are some completely inept people in many positions that I know of that shouldn't be there. I have no idea how they got there. Some of them would be natural progression, and they have actually pulled their socks up and changed. But I think many are just they were on the list at the time, right? You've got to choose who's on the list. Whenever an opportunity arises, 7 billion people don't get asked whether they would like to do it. It only falls in front of a very, very tiny amount of people. And then one has to be selected, right? They're not going to wait till they've consulted the entire planet for some ideal, wonderful opportunity. They do their best to find somebody. And the doing their best part is where a lot of the nepotism and other favours and situations come into effect. And often people who shouldn't be there do get there. Some manage to remain because they get good at it. Others, they remain because, well, they're not doing a bad job, they're just doing an okay job. But I'm saying all of this at risk of sounding bitter. Am I bitter? Well, no, not really. I would say there are elements of bitterness on occasion, some moments in my life. But generally speaking, no. The world does what the world's going to do. I'm very adaptive. I've been shot down hundreds of times and I always get back up again. So I'm used to all of that. So I wouldn't say that was the overarching feeling when thinking about opportunities lost or not even sniffed at. I think on my part, a lot of it boils down to I have this reluctance to engage in things because I'm so occupied with my imagination. I would say that lets me down to some extent, where an opportunity may have come along and I didn't, hello, that's Crow, and I didn't jump at it because I was too comfortable. Opportunities certainly do often require a bit of discomfort and adaptation to bank them. So I'm not perfect. I'm not saying that I was deprived. That's why I'm not bitter. But I think there are loads of people like me who've got probably really great skills but are underutilised. I am greatly underutilised. The things I can solve and fix are phenomenal. Every time I walk into a contract, I know exactly what to do within a day or two. My challenge is not knowing what to do. My challenge is convincing people that I have the right answers. And that's really hard when a lot of the world is driven by politics and agendas. And sometimes people are really embarrassed when you have great answers. They really don't want those answers being utilised because they didn't come up with them. Or implementing them might take away some of their control. So it becomes a very fiddly and intricate sort of political battle as well at times, which I really hate that part, but that, I'm afraid, is inevitable. You can't escape that. So I almost turn it into a bit of a science experiment. I evaluate the problem, think of all of the possible options that could be effective, and build up people's appetite for them. I then present them, and I listen to their feedback to see whether I've missed anything, or they have anything better. Then I refine and continue supporting people in whatever they choose. If they choose something phenomenally stupid, though, I will resist it strongly, because it's unwise to let people leap off a cliff, right? You wouldn't do that. You have to sometimes rein them back in. That can be problematic too. People don't like it when I do that, but I have to do it a lot. But I think that's what makes me a standout BA. I don't read hundreds of books about business analysis, and I don't have qualifications in business analysis, because frankly speaking, the things that I have read, some of them are okay, but a lot of them I really don't feel they add much value. I think so many situations are so intricately different. The best skills you can have as a good BA are problem-solving skills, not a doctrine or handbook full of doctrines that you can follow rigidly to the letter, which, like some sort of amazing sausage factory, will output the result. Life just isn't like that. It's very rare that happens, but that's why a lot of projects procrastinate and don't deliver. It's because people are sticking to this methodology that they think will work, and some people are milking that methodology as well, because they've advanced themselves by spouting it almost like it's a faith or a religion. You know, thou shalt do this. Here's milestone 1. This means that people want to perpetuate the same framework because they're skilled at it, and it's the framework which keeps them employed, right? So they're busy kind of tapping away at the problems. They're not ever going to solve them, they're just tapping away at them. But because they're pressing all of the buttons within the framework, they can prove to other people less knowledgeable and less skilled that they are appearing to do the right thing, but they're not actually doing the right thing. They're not problem solving. I'm a problem solver. I pick up the hardest, most difficult things. I smash them to pieces to find out what made them become the way they are. And I use my skills of observation, because you don't need to be intelligent to solve problems. You just need to be observant. Observation is key to everything. I mean, to give you an example, everybody knows pretty much Albert Einstein, his theories, especially of general relativity or special relativity or whatever they call it these days, is heralded as a genius, and a genius he was, definitely. But he was a man who worked very, very hard to get the answers that he found. He did not just sit there and ponder them and 5 minutes later scratch out all of these wonderful things. It was a lot of graft, a lot of mistakes were made. He was breaking down the problems that he wanted to solve and trying to find pathways to get the answers. And that's what gave him the notoriety that he obtained. And through that process, he became a very intelligent man. He was already intelligent naturally, but he further refined his intellectual faculty. So I suppose you could say, what is the difference between intelligence and IQ? And I would say the difference is enormous. You know, IQ is a certain type of thinking, and it's like a hardwired thinking, whereas intelligence is what you have learned in order to solve problems. And you can have a high IQ and low intelligence. Your high IQ can make you really good at solving puzzles, but rubbish at sort of framing them in a real world context. Not necessarily all the time. I'm just saying it's not the best measure. So all of those people out there who think they're not smart enough, You are, you are, because you can improve your intelligence through observation alone. Learn to observe, ask questions, don't take things at face value. Criticize things, be skeptical. And when you see some very fancy wording about something in a book, it's probably a word salad. Somebody's gone to great lengths to make it sound very impressive. After you've read it, if you're still struggling to understand what they're talking about, shove it into an AI and ask the AI to summarize it, to help you understand it. And you will often find out that one whole paragraph says very little. It's just a very pretty way of explaining something. And the shortened answer is quite trivial and boring and kind of obvious often. So then you have to ask yourself, well, if that person went to those lengths to make that information sound so pretty, do they really have the information I'm looking for? And more than likely, no, they don't. So you're better off using your powers of observation to break down things into their component parts and find out how they work. And this is something I like to explain to people a lot when I'm helping them problem solve. And the analogies that I like to use are the things which have rigorously demonstrated that emergent function and other forms of emergent structure and anything basically that's emergent is extremely powerful at solving problems. Take, for instance, the human body. Okay, now we are all individuals. Okay, we're all very different, but internally we're so similar. We've all got lungs, heart, liver, kidneys, bone structure, skin, eyes, ears, etc., etc. We're all made up of the same parts. Yeah, and so in order to understand how do you build a human being, you have to understand, well, what are they made of first, right? What is the structure that has emergently built itself to create another instantiation of a human being? And if you start thinking about problems in that way, you'll learn that so many things are a sum of parts. They are built up by other parts. And that's basically the way that the universe orders itself. It assembles components which then glue together to become other components, which themselves glue together to become other components, and everything scales up in a sort of fractal way. That's a very important thing to know, because that tells you some clues about how to solve problems. Because probability would say, given enough time, any problem can be solved. Thus, emergence is, given time, the most powerful way to solve problems. So how do you speed up emergence? You think about breaking down problems into their sort of solvable parts. So that's often, I think, called divide and conquer in mathematics, and it's a very, very worthy concept. It's what you do to equations, right? You simplify them. So simplify your problems by breaking them down into pieces, and once you learn how to do that and your observation skills improve, you then learn that a great way to solve problems is to start with the end state and work backwards. So if you were going to build a software system, for instance, you should start with the interface first. Build that, storyboard it, get it all in lovely pictures, and daydream about how the interface works and how that interface delivers the features and functionality that you're looking for. And then you start working backwards. So once you've totally nailed the abstract concept on paper, this dog. Going to find China. Sorry, distracted by doggies. So once you've learned that you can work backwards, you start with the interface, you build it up, and then you think about, well, programmatically speaking, what objects do I need in the software to support these interface outcomes? And then you start to perceive the internal model. So then you think to yourself, okay, so that's the current end state. What are the future end states? So then you postulate what that interface might look like in the future. In other words, are there going to be more options within a drop-down control, or will new types emerge for something? Is there room to add more features? So you think about the extensibility, and that will lead to types of objects which can be expanded or contracted. And isn't it marvellous just how closely that resembles reality? And there's a lot about software engineering that can teach you a lot about how to solve real world problems. I love the sound of the sea. So it's like a lecture, this, isn't it? Crikey, all your brains are overheating. But it's true. What I'm trying to, I suppose, a lot of people have said similar things to me in the past, right? Nothing terribly new here, but what I'm trying to do, I suppose, is just pass on what I know. That's what we do, right? And we do it in books, or we do it in videos, or we do it in songs, or we do it in pictures. So I'm doing it in a ramble. I wonder how far I can get before the battery runs out. That's quite a slap. So we're at Cobo Beach now. We've just walked across Grand Rock, the sandy bit. I used to be a jogger. I used to love jogging. That was before I busted my spine. And often when I'm walking, I get this urge to just suddenly run like mad. There's still a gazelle in me, but I know that risks damage. I might get away with it, but I'm quite heavy now. I think I'm about 177 pounds, somewhere around there, which for 5'11", I think it's 5'10" or 5'11", somewhere in there. That's quite heavy. So I've got a bit more meat on me than I used to have. And that's just going to, especially if I'm chest heavy too, from my fighting days in martial arts. And that's a lot to rest on my spinal column. But look at that. Let's shut up for a moment. Okay, let me try and describe the temperature. The temperature is lovely because it's not too hot. There's not a chilly wind, but there's a soothing wind. So the sun is fairly strong for this time of year, but the wind is gently soothing that, especially close to the water. So it makes makes the hairs on your arms prick up a little bit, but it's very refreshing. Not too chilly. It would be if I stayed here for 10 minutes still, I suppose. Yeah, so the days of belting around like a gazelle are gone. But I do get the urge. I can feel the temptation. I'd probably bust a knee as well. I used to look for rocks here which had quartz in them, and did find quite a few when I was younger. I do sometimes look these days, not as much as I used to, because I've sort of done that bit and I know what's on this beach, and it isn't much. It's nice to have a little look now and again. Like you can find quartz like that, and sometimes you find a really interesting specimen where there's a cavity where the crystals have come out or remain, but it's so rare and they're not the finest specimens really. It's good fun looking for them there, but yeah, there are some interesting pebbles here. And there are some great patterns. I've got quite a few at home already, so I tend to just cast my eyes down now and again, just to see if there's anything new, but not with much determined effort. I will have a determined look though if I'm out with somebody looking for shells, or even pebbles in particular, because I think that's good fun. Some nice flints too. We've covered quite a plethora of topics today, which is interesting. I'm going to run out soon. I think that's impossible actually, with the amount of hammering on that I do. People who know me know that I talk too much when I am talking. I've got a lot to say. So I think what I will do is, if the recording does last long enough, I'll record all the way up to way across the beach over there by the slipway, where I can answer the call of nature. Because you would not like to see that on video. It's not a pretty sight. Hello, Mr. Herringull. Paddling out. Must get away. Bad human, bad human. You're right, we are terrible. We won't be here very long though. We'll die out at some point. And you will continue, because you're doing the right thing. We're doing the wrong thing. Very, very popular bay, Cobo Bay. Lots of families come down here. Children play on the lovely wide sand. Lots of swimmers as well. And people on surfboards. What do they call them? Stand-up paddle boarding. Something like that. Sups. Bit of windsurfing, I think. Further out though. But mostly just lazing on the beach, which is a lovely thing to do. As long as you can tune out. Oh look, there's an interesting creature down there. Hopefully you can see that on the video. Yes, we used to come down here quite a bit when we were kids. I still do. I visit occasionally. It's not my favourite beach. I prefer either Grand Rock or Port Soif. But there are many great beaches over here. I think it depends on the wind, what the temperature of the water is like, what the state of the tides are. Sometimes you get much warmer water if it's been a baking hot day and the rocks have been cooked, and then the tide comes in gently and gets heated up near the shoreline by the hot rocks. That's nice, because the water is innately treacherously cold here. And whilst it can get up to 16 or 17 degrees at peak, that's actually still quite chilly, and especially for skinny ribs like me. But it is nice to take a dip for a while, splosh around. Far fewer crows around at the moment because there's not so much seaweed on the beach and things being washed up. But sometimes you can see maybe 50 to 70 crows out on the beach here. Right, you may have to move because I'm coming and I need to find a good part to cross without getting wet feet. Here we are. Right, you going left or right? You go right, I'll go left. So right in front of me up on that hill is the Leggett, or the pine forest. It's not really a forest, it's a copse or a wood, but that's what we call it colloquially, the pine forest. I think a lot of people just say Get. Are you going to the Get? An amazing place, well worth a visit. Okay, you really could make an almost infinite amount of limpet shell jewellery here. There's limpet shells everywhere. I don't know whether it's because more limpets are thriving now, or more are dying, or that people don't collect them so much. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there. Haven't thought about it. Somebody made a castle there. Some lovely smells of rotting seaweed here. Nice to see the sea very calm there. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this other ramble, this second ramble number 2. And you've enjoyed listening to me ramble on as I ramble on. That's going to become a catchphrase, isn't it? But I shall sign off at the top here, perhaps. That's a handy seat. And a little scooter as well. Right, let's switch off.